Hello, everyone. Welcome to Chasing a Murderer. And today we have a very interesting video on the guy accused or suspected, allegedly, of killing the 4 students at Idaho University. The affidavit come out yesterday, January 5th of 2023, on this alleged suspect, Bryan Christopher Kohberger, 28 years old, approximately 185 pounds, about 6 foot tall. He was studying in criminology and psychology and actually was recommended for the PhD program at Washington State University. According to witnesses, this guy enjoyed talking about all aspects of crime and was very, very much so a participant in class, oftentimes, according to witnesses, going over the teacher, acting as if he might know more than they do. According to a teacher herself, she said that he's 1 in 4 students that she's recommended for the PhD program, and that he was a brilliant, brilliant student. All these characteristics are very, very important before we start going into some of the details that we learned yesterday. So you got to understand, if she's saying that this guy's brilliant, then most likely he had a lot of good ideas. He was good at whatever he did in that classroom. Haven't had time to get that far, guys. But we're also dealing with a lot of rumors that's coming out. I've shared a few of them, but I really don't like to share rumors. So let's go ahead and get started and start talking about the affidavit that come out. And it kind of mentions or gives us a hint of what kind of weapon that was used on that November 13th of 2022. The New York Times has a pretty decent affidavit out there. Quality is a little poor, but it's one of the better ones. When investigators entered this home in Idaho, it was Moscow, Idaho, it was visible that there were stab wounds. And to the right side of one of the victims, Mogan, it says that they discovered a sheath. They later processed it, and it had K-bar USMC. It had the United States Marine Corps Eagle Globe and Anchor insignia stamped on the outside of it. And this is something I felt like most likely the suspect, in order to get this knife, had to probably go to a knife show or order it. There's a possibility of other things, of course, but this is just a few things that you can think of how he got his hands on such a knife. That on the left of the button snap of the knife sheath, they discovered DNA. And they were able to compare this DNA to someone that they already had in mind, and that was Bryan Kohberger's father. They were able to go through the garbage, collect some DNA, and said that this DNA matched him nearly 100%. So let's talk about this weapon that they didn't ever find a weapon. Let's get that straight. They do know it was a knife, and they discovered this knife sheath. And you can go to www.com to actually get more information on this type of knife and other knives. A guy named Bob that runs knifeTown has a video online that can tell you more information about this knife. I'm going to share a few clips here.
We're going to take a look at one of the most famous knives in the world. It's the K-bar USMC fighting knife. The knife that was made famous in World War II by the U.S. Marines. Since that time, it's gone on to be adopted by the Army, the Navy, and the Coast Guard. Comes in a sleeve there, with a sheath, and some literature. Of different knives and tools they sell. The classic stacked leather washer can be had in plain edge, serrated, tanto. What you're looking at right here is the classic version. The only difference between this and the original is that this particular one does have serrations here. So this is serrated. Like I said, you can get it in a full plain edge if you want. That's a 7-inch Bowie style or clip blade, I should say. I'm sorry, clip point blade It is 7 inches long. The steel is 1095 Crovan. The weight of the entire knife is 7/10 of a pound. It's made out of stacked leather washers that are then resin impregnated and hardened, so it's hard as wood. It does have a finger guard here, which is steel. Full-sized knife. That you're ready for anything with this knife. But you can see there, that's about 4 millimeters. Stamped USMC. There's a close-up look at the handle and those leather washers. The butt cap, and you can see the tang protruding there. Palm swell, really. You know, it's good. It's good on the grab. It does have these ridges in here, which are kind of, they function like the tread on a tire. You know, they allow for fluid runoff in your hand. If your hand is wet, that'll run off the fluid in there when you grab the knife. They allow for better grip.
So you can see they refer to it as a fighting knife, something that has been popular over the years with knife enthusiasts. I didn't know anything about it, so I had to look it up. According to a few witnesses, they said that Bryan was interested in boxing at one time. Can't really talk about that because we don't have a lot of details. So we learned on this affidavit that the Idaho State Lab located a single source of male DNA on the button snap of a knife, possibly like the one we just looked at. We know that there was a knife sheath that suggests that that might be the type of knife that was used. So also, here's another question. Why is that sheath there, and how was it left behind? A lot of people are questioning the fact that you had 6 people in this household. 4 of them are gone, and 2 of them survived. They refer to them as BF and DM on the affidavit. And they were inside the King Road residence when something like this was happening. You've got to remember, guys, you know, they think that one of these victims was awake, and they're saying they didn't hardly hear anything. What they did hear doesn't make sense. Police are able to recover some surveillance that kind of fill in some timeline for them of the victims, of where they went that day and that night. So one of the last surveillance was around 1:56 a.m. And then their roommates that survived, DM and BF, they both made statements with interviews with investigators that indicated that these students were home by 2 a.m. and that they were asleep, or at least in their rooms, by 4 a.m. Except for one of them, Carnoodle, who received a DoorDash order at the residence approximately 4 a.m. And this is what's really strange to me as well. So one of the witnesses that were living in the residence, DM, stated that she originally went to sleep in her bedroom on the southeast side of the residence on the 2nd floor, also approximately around 4 a.m. And she says she hears what she said sounded like conclaves playing with her dog in one of the upstairs bedroom, which was located on the 3rd floor. A short time later, DM also said she heard what she thought was conclave say something to the effect that there's someone here. A review of records obtained from the forensic download of Carnoodle's phone showed that this could also have been Carnoodle, as her cell phone indicated that she was likely awake and using the TikTok app approximately around 4:12 a.m. that day. But DM stated that she looked out her bedroom but didn't see anything. And this is because she heard a comment about someone being in the house. To me, this is odd. I mean, if I thought somebody is in my house, we don't just look out our door, do we? And just look down the hall and say, we're not going to look at the rest of the house. I don't know anybody that would do that. Anyways, especially after this, when she said DM stated that she opened her door the second time when she heard what she thought was crying coming from Carnoodle's room. DM said she then heard a male voice say something in the effect of, "It's okay, I'm going to help you." So it's around 4:17 a.m. that a security camera located at the 1112 King Road, another residence, which is immediately to the northwest of 1122 King Road, picked up a distorted audio of what sounded like voices or a whimper followed by a loud thud. We don't hear any of this from DM because they also say the dog can also be here barking numerous times starting around 4:17 a.m. This security camera, guys, is less than 50 feet from the west wall of Kernoodle's bedroom. Now, this girl, she's concerned. DM stated that she opened her door for the third time after she heard crying and saw a figure clad in black clothing, a mask that covered a person's mouth and nose was walking towards her. DM describes the figure as 5'10" or taller, male, not very muscular, but athletically built with a very bushy eyebrows. This is strange as well because DM says this guy, dressed in all black, walks right past her as she stood frozen in a shock phase. This male walked towards a back sliding glass door. DM says that she went in her room and locked the door. She says she didn't recognize the male, and there's some really strange things going on with this, I think. This says that it leads investigators to believe that the murderer left the scene. So here she is 3 or 4 times hearing things that, she's wondering about, but she never goes too far to investigate. And the fact that the cops or 911 wasn't even called until hours later. The combination of DM's statements to the law enforcement, as well as the downloads of records from BF and DM's phone, and a video of the suspect's video as described below, leads investigators to believe that the homicides occurred between 4 a.m. and 4:25 a.m. Now we're going to briefly cover this, that after several times of investigating this residence, investigators find a latent shoe print. And they discover that it fits the pattern of a Vans type shoe sole. And it's located just outside of DM's bedroom on the second floor. For them, this is consistent with DM's statement regarding the suspect's path of travel. Police really had their work cut out for them because they had to go and find surveillance video to try to figure out what happened, as everything else, like the knife sheath that they found, the DNA on that's going to take time to come through. And security footage isn't the best. They said they actually collected numerous security videos from businesses and residents looking for vehicles that were traveling or leaving the King Road residence. It looks like they have several vehicles that they were tracking, but they refer to one particular white sedan as Suspect Vehicle 1, which will be attached to Bryan Kohberger. They observed this white sedan traveling westbound on the 700 block of Indian Hills Drive in Moscow around 3:26 a.m. and westbound on Steiner Avenue, Idaho State Highway 95 in Moscow approximately around 3:28 a.m. And they make mention that during this time that the suspect Vehicle 1 was not displaying a front license plate. And they would see multiple sightings of this same vehicle, what they believe to be the same vehicle, starting at 3:29 a.m. and ending at 4:20 a.m. They learned that this vehicle makes an initial 3 passes of the 1122 King Road residence. When leaving the residence, it leaves in Wellenta Drive. Sorry, guys. And a patrol officer gives his expertise and says, there's very limited number of vehicles that travel in this area during the early morning hours. And he suggests that, looking at the video, though they don't have every minute of it, only a few cars actually enter and exit this area during this time frame. Now remember, DM says that she gets a DoorDash delivery around 4 a.m. But they find out that the suspect vehicle 1 can be seen entering this area a fourth time, which is around 4:04 a.m. It drives past King Road, eastbound, turning around in the front of 500 Queen Road. He then drives back westbound on King Road. It appears that they're saying that the suspect vehicle 1 is in front of the King Road residence. Once he does that turnaround, it appeared to unsuccessfully attempt to park or turn around in the road. The vehicle continued to the intersection of King Road and Queen Road, where it can be seen completing a 3-point turn and then driving eastbound again down Queen Road. From here, there's a lot of details missing. They then say the suspect vehicle 1 is seen departing the area of King Road residence approximately around 4:20 a.m. and it's at a high rate of speed. So they observe this vehicle coming in, not too much in a hurry, but when it leaves, it's in a dramatic hurry. They're able to track this vehicle off and on as it leaves this residence and heads back towards where he's from. When they start trying to figure out what this vehicle is exactly, they have a lot of trouble, seeing the vehicle, but they're able to start narrowing it down to like a 2011 to a 2013 Hyundai Elantra. After looking at these videos a little bit closer, he actually says it could be a 2011 to a 2016 Hyundai Elantra, but it seems they certainly know it's a Hyundai Elantra. Immediately, they start investigating owners or people who own vehicles like this, and they're given access to video footage from Washington State University, where they believe that, they followed this car that's in Pullman, Washington. It's also where Bryan Kohberger is living. That's where he goes to school. And they find several videos fitting that description. One at 2:44 a.m. on November 13th of 2022, a white sedan, which is consistent, like I said, with the description of the white Elantra known as suspect vehicle 1. So we're not going to go through everything that they found, but they basically figure out that this car most likely belongs to the student at this college in Pullman, Washington. So here's where it gets interesting. Media sources, especially media sources like News Nation, they're saying investigators, they basically have no clue, no suspect, blah, 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 blah. But it's nearly a week later, November 25th of 2022, law enforcement agencies are on the lookout for this white Hyundai Elantra. And on November 29th of 2022, around 12:28 a.m., a Washington State University police officer, Danielle Tiengo, locates this vehicle with a Pennsylvania license plate LFZ 8649. Bingo, they got a name, and it's registered to Bryan Kohberger, residing at 1630 Northeast Valley Road, apartment 201, Pullman, Washington. There are several officers that same day who are keeping an eye on this Hyundai Elantra. They run the license plate and they find out, they get a return name of Kohberger. And this person's able to get the driver's license information in a photo, along with his basic characteristics. On this driver's license photo, they notice he has bushy eyebrows. Investigators believe that Kohberger was still driving the 2015 white Elantra because the vehicle was captured December 13th, 2022 by a license plate reader in Loma, Colorado. So it's pretty much at this point, he's probably in the car with his father and he's headed to Pennsylvania for the holidays. We're learning that he gets pulled over several times on that trip, only to get warnings, probably keeping an eye on him. And remember, when we reviewed that video clip where he was pulled over for the second time, you could see that look on his face. I mean, that's probably the most emotions I've seen on his face thus far. I believe that might have been the moment that he's starting to realize that, hey, they're catching on to me. But that's just my opinion. Everything starts coming together quite quickly for them. They're doing the research. They're finding out that he is a student in criminology, psychology. They find his Reddit post. So once they actually arrest him and serve search warrants on his apartment, his office, and then his parents' home, immediately law officials are interested in his phone information, so it's GPS information. And this goes into a lot more detail if you guys want to go and read it. But they believe that Bryan is the man that they're after, attached to those 4 victims in Idaho. And they're still putting this case together. You got to remember that it isn't a fast process, cases like this. They kind of start off a little slow. And once you get those warrants and the arrest, well, things start to move a little bit quicker, but they kind of cave in on you. And so that's where they're at right now, is trying to put this story together. They're looking for witnesses. And I've had comments where people said, oh, I might have seen this guy. And police are saying, if you think you have seen this guy, any small little tip, even a thought that you ran into him, matters. Get in contact with police. Bryan Kohberger showed up in court. I think that they arrested him quicker than they wanted to, but they had no choice, I think, probably from all the media. So he wasn't released on bail because the judge says she still has to collect some information. So we're wondering, are they going to let this guy out on bail? Now, remember, Idaho State is a death penalty state. I'm still wondering why he chose this area, whoever this person is. So they're saying there's still no motive, but we're hearing these little rumors around that they might have known each other through their vegan similarities at a restaurant. Who's they? Bryan and Kaylee, one of the victims. But that has not been something that the investigators have shared. So we don't know if that's true or not. The motive is still unclear, though there is tons and tons of speculations on the motive. So I think, this guy, they're finding out that there's a possibility that he was kind of watching this house possibly weeks before anything happened. Now we just want to know why this group of people, why only the 4 of them, and why did he walk past the other 2? So it's still a lot of questions going on. Hopefully, the victims' families, they're getting some sort of relief. You can't get 100% relief, but something. Bryan Kohberger is due back in court January 12th, facing 4 first-degree murder charges and a burglary charge, as you can see, I guess based off the witness. Guys, the weekend is approaching. Y'all have a fabulous weekend. I love you guys so much. Thank you for your support, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.